Hello and welcome to this week's lecture on money and inflation. I'm Mike Wenz and I'll be guiding you through the slides. It's useful to think for a moment about the tools that the government uses to guide the macroeconomy. These fall into two broad categories. The first one is monetary policy, whereby the government controls the amount of money circulating in the economy. And the second category is fiscal policy, which roughly corresponds with controlling the level of taxes and the level of government spending in the economy. Monetary policy is the subject of this week's lecture, and the tools by which the government controls the money supply and the link between the money supply and inflation is the subject of this week's lecture. As we go through this, it's useful to keep a few things in mind. The first is that the price level is a nominal variable, and that the price level doesn't depend on how productive firms are or the behaviors of consumers or anything like that. The price level is a nominal variable that just reflects the combination of the place where supply and demand intersect. In a supply and demand diagram, quantity is a real variable, and the price level just records the level that the transactions take at. If you wanted to think about an example, suppose we just added a zero to all the currency. Essentially nothing would happen except everything would look 10 times as expensive as it used to be. So the price level is not a determinant of the standard of living, but it reflects the level at which transactions are taking place, the level in terms of currency that transactions are taking place. In the long run, then, we can see that the price level shouldn't matter, but in the short run, it very well may. And monetary policy might be useful for smoothing out temporary economic fluctuations by changing the way that prices adjust. It's important to note that perhaps monetary policy may cause fluctuations. Monetary policy has been criticized in the past, perhaps for exacerbating the last financial crisis that we had. It's also useful to define what we mean by inflation. It's important to remember that inflation refers to increases in the general price level, the level of prices on average across the economy. It doesn't refer to increases in specific prices. So when we see some prices going up, that's not inflation. When we see all prices going up, then that's what we mean when we talk about inflation. It's also useful to note that rising prices in and of themselves are not good or bad. There's not a right price and a wrong price. In every transaction, there's a buyer and a seller, and buyers, of course, prefer low prices. But sellers prefer high prices. And when we think about it, we're both buyers and sellers in roughly equal amounts throughout the economy. And so collectively, higher prices are exactly as good for sellers as they are as bad for buyers. And individually, we sell about as much as we buy. There may, however, be adjustment costs. There may be costs to changes in the price level or unpredictable changes in the price level especially. The value of money is inversely related to the price level. This is important. When we think about money supply and money demand, how much money we want to carry, it's important to think first of the value of money. And the higher prices are, the less a dollar is worth. If prices are high, a dollar doesn't go very far. If prices are low, a dollar might go significantly farther. So the value of money is inversely related to the price level. We can think of it as 1 over the price level. If the price level rises, money becomes less valuable. Now, money supply in our economy is determined by the Fed, or mostly by the Fed, and money demand is determined by households. The higher prices are, the more money people want to carry, and in the money market, the price level acts to balance the supply of money and the demand for money. Let's take a look at this on a graph. With the quantity of money on the horizontal axis, you can see here that the money supply is set at $1,000 by the federal government. And on the vertical axis on the left-hand side, you can see the value of money, which is expressed as 1 over the price level. So as the price level rises, the value of money falls. Now, as the value of money falls, people need to carry more currency and keep more larger deposit balances to conduct all of the transactions that they want to. So as the value of money falls, we need to carry more of it. This gives rise to the downward sloping demand curve for money. In this case, the way that it's drawn here, the equilibrium price level is at 2, so $2 per unit of output, and the equilibrium value of money there is a half. Each unit of money, each unit of currency buys a half a unit of the good in question. So what happens if we increase the money supply? Suppose that the Fed increases the money supply from 1,000 to 2,000. Now, in this case, the value of money will fall and the price level will rise. The price level has to rise to reflect the increase of money floating through the economy.